So I just want to make sure before I get started, is there anyone on the call who is not a student or a legal aid person or from OSAR? Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I wanted to let everyone know this is being recorded, so hopefully that's all okay with everyone. I will allow questions at the end, and I'll stop recording at that point. So hold on to your questions, and at the end, we can answer lots of questions. I'm sure everybody has some. My name is Robyn Smith. I am a legal aid attorney with the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. Also, we're a member of the Student Loan Empowerment Network, which is a statewide network of student loan experts, and we provide free assistance to people with their student loan issues. Um, and also, I'm joined today by Brian Vest, who is from the Office of Student Assistance and Relief with the state of California. Thank you all for joining. I just want to say I'm really sorry about what's happening to you. I've been doing this over 20 years and have helped lots and lots of closed school students. You're not alone. A lot of other people have gone through this before, but I know it's devastating and it's difficult, especially when you have spent a lot of time and work at this school trying to earn your degree or certificate, and it's just totally disheartening. So hopefully today this will at least give you some more information so you can evaluate your options. And we'll also be providing resources to you. So if you need additional assistance, you know where to reach out. Um, so I'll go ahead and get started with the PowerPoint. So write down your questions, or you can enter some in the chat as well, and I'll try to review those at the end. So we do have a lot of stuff to cover today. I just want to emphasize a few things. We're going to talk about taking your time and making your decisions, not rushing into deciding what you want to do, because this obviously is a very important decision about your next steps. Warning you to watch out for some scams that are out there. We'll talk about teach outs, transferring credits, how to get your school records, what kinds of federal student loan discharges are available to you, the state student tuition recovery fund relief, and where to seek help and file complaints. So the first thing I want to emphasize is I know when this happened and when it's announced, a lot of you probably feel very panicked and upset and immediately want to rush into making a decision. Because you have so many options and this is so important to your future, and all of you are making very large financial investments, I encourage you to take your time in assessing your options and deciding what you want to do. Don't let anyone else rush you into a decision. Especially if schools are pushing you to enroll somewhere else to participate in a teach out, make sure that's a red flag. You shouldn't be rushed into doing anything. It's a red flag that it could be a predatory school. You need to take the time you need to review the documents and make the decision. Once you finish at the end of June, you will have a 6 month grace period before you're expected to start making payments on your loans. So you will not be expected right away to start paying your loans, and that will give you, of course, time to think about your options. If you have any private loans, um, you can ask for forbearance if you start receiving collection letters. I don't know if those of you at the Emperor's College have private loans or not. So if you do, or if you have questions at the end, please let me know. And then just again, carefully consider all of your options. So I wanted to warn you about some of the debt relief scams that are out there. And I've seen a lot of closed school students targeted by these scams. We had a clinic in person where people showed up and put notices on the cars. Debt relief scams are scammers that promise that they will get you immediately debt forgiveness, or they'll get your loans discharged. Um, if any business promises you that, you should know you can do this fairly easily alone for free. You can get help from the Student Loan Empowerment Network or the Office of Student Assistance and Relief. There is no need really for you to pay anyone to do this for you if you are going to apply for some kind of loan relief or discharge of your loans. Furthermore, if they charge upfront fees, that is illegal. So just so you know, if you start getting these kinds of emails or calls or texts, they are likely scams, as well as internet ads. And again, everything today that we're talking about is free and fairly easy for you all to do on your own, um, if you want to apply for any kind of relief. So I'm going to talk first out about teach outs. So I understand you all have been told there will be one or two teach out schools available to you. I want to explain what a teach out is because a lot of closed schools misuse this language, when they're actually just transferring credits. So a teach out is where another school agrees to teach out the rest of your semester, your quarter, whatever term you're in, that your student loans have already been paid for free of charge. So if you haven't completed a semester and you're transferring to finish it somewhere else, that's what you get free of charge. However, if you enroll and then you have new semesters and new quarters to attend, which haven't been paid for yet, then you're going to pay that amount to the new school, um, so that you can graduate in the same program. Note that teach outs must be approved by both schools' accreditors. So you want to make sure and ask, is it accreditor approved? Um, and the third thing is you don't have to participate in a teach out. A lot of schools push their students and tell them that they have to participate. That is not true. You can choose to transfer your credits to another school, or you can opt out entirely of continuing your education. Um, if you participate, just note that you will not be eligible for federal closed school discharge if you complete your teach out, um, or student tuition recovery fund relief. So that's just something to be noted that if you participate in a teach out and you finish it and you graduate, you will not be eligible for either form of relief. If you enter it, if you start to participate and then you decide this isn't for you, you don't like the school, you don't think the education's quality, it's too far for you to go for whatever reason, you can stop attending. And in that case, you will be eligible for a closed school discharge and STRIF relief, with the caveat that any loans you obtain to go to that new school will not be dischargeable, right? So it's just the loans from the old school, the one that closed. I realize this is confusing, so I will share also this PowerPoint with everyone. So how do you evaluate a teach out? So before you go to enroll at a teach out school, it's really important to make sure this is an institution, a quality institution that will provide you with a similar or same level of quality education. So the first question is always, will the school accept all of your credits? If it's a teach out, they should be accepting all of the credits you've earned at Emperor's College. But make sure that you talk to them and that that is actually in writing. Does the new school have the same or similar curriculum? So you can compare the catalogs of Emperor's College for your program and the catalog of the new school. Their catalogs are supposed to be posted online by law. In California, that is required. So you can compare, sort of the curriculums and make sure they're similar. They might not be exactly the same, but close enough. Um, you want to make sure, I understand a lot of you have internships or externships, so you want to make sure the new school can offer similar opportunities that are also within a good location that works for you, because I know LA is a big place and some of these colleges are in far locations. So you want to ask them, where exactly are their internships? How far are they from campus? And you could even ask for do they have a list of internship locations they've used in the past. Um, you want to look at your enrollment agreement. So you will likely be asked to sign a new enrollment agreement with the teach out institution, although that isn't always the case. But if so, you want to make sure the amount of time you're completing in is similar. So if you had a year and a half, say, left to earn your degree at Emperor's College, you want to make sure you have around the same amount of time, a year and a half, in the new college, and they aren't adding extra new requirements for you. Another thing is to compare costs. I understand they're telling you that the costs will be the same or similar at the new colleges, and the curriculums will be the same or similar. Again, compare them. Make sure you look at your enrollment agreement. Don't sign anything, and take it home with you and compare it to the enrollment agreement you have from Emperor's College. and also the catalog, because again, the catalogs have the tuition fees in them every year as they're updated, and I know those can go up over time, but you should get an estimate at least. Um, of course, you want to make sure that the graduates are eligible for licensure. I believe acupuncturists are licensed in California. I'm not 100% sure. You all will know that. So again, if that's required, make sure that graduates from the teach out institution are eligible to take the licensure exam. Make sure the school has experience teaching your program. I understand the schools that they have mentioned so far actually do have experience, which is great because we've seen teach outs where new schools that have never taught the program before suddenly are teaching a teach out and they have instructors that don't know what they're doing. So really important to make sure that they have experience. And of course, make sure the teach out is accreditor approved, as I mentioned before. So separate from teach outs, where you should be transferring all of your credits through an accreditor approved teach out, you could also transfer credits to a different school that isn't a teach out school. Um, so the one thing you should know is that if you transfer even one credit to another school, you could become ineligible for a closed school discharge of your federal student loans. I will cover that a little later because it's a little confusing right now, but just know that if you transfer one or more credits, that may impact your ability to get a closed school discharge. Um, if any school is pressuring you to enroll right away, this includes for teach outs as well. Watch out. This is a red flag of a predatory school. Every school that is a good school should not pressure you, should allow you the time to take the information, the disclosures, the written documents they want you to sign, anything that's impacting your future, you should be able to take home and read and make a decision in consultation with your friends or family, um, and looking at your past history with Emperor's College. So that's just a red flag. And the final thing is if you do transfer credits, make sure you get in writing how much credits they're accepting from Emperor's College. Because I've seen schools that say, oh, we're accepting all your credits, and then it turns out they're not. So you just want to be very clear. Again, this should be in your enrollment agreement because that will have exactly how much tuition you're paying, how much time to completion, what sort of program you're signing up for, and how long it will take to complete. So that's really the main document you want to look at. So for both teach outs and for transferring credits, make sure you do your research. Talk to potential employers. Do they hire graduates from the teach out school or the school you're transferring to? Review their job placement, graduation, licensure, and loan default rates. These are all disclosures that California law requires that they give you at the new school, so they should be giving you these. But in addition, you should be able to look at this information on their websites. Again, it's required to be posted. Sometimes they make it hard to find, I will be honest. Sometimes it's under something like consumer information. You kind of have to click around sometimes to find these, but they should be available somewhere on the school's website. You could ask to sit in on a few classes. There shouldn't be a problem with that. Again, if they have an issue with that, to me, it's a red flag that there's something to hide. So you should be able to say, can I just sit in on one or two classes? I want to see what the schools and the teachers are like and what the students are like. Um, again, as I said before, take home and review the new enrollment agreement, disclosures, any kinds of documents the school asks you to sign. And also, finally, make sure that graduates of the school are eligible for licensure. Again, if the school pressures you to enroll quickly and won't let you take home documents or sit in on a few classes, this is a red flag that this is a predatory institution. And what I mean by predatory is an institution that's more concerned with making profits from enrolling new students than providing a good education. And obviously, you want a good education. So that's why I just want to give you all the red flags. And then, of course, figure out what is financially in your best interest. You want to compare the cost of finishing at another school and the likelihood of getting a job with that degree versus discharging your loans and starting over at another school. Again, I'll get into the discharge and student relief options for a minute. Sometimes if you've gone to a school a really long time and you're close to finishing, it probably makes more financial sense to do a teach out or transfer your credits. Whereas if you just started recently, it may make more sense to start over somewhere else and get the discharges. But again, that's going to be up to you to really evaluate when you have all the information from the new schools. So the next thing I recommend is to get your student records from the closing school. So for Emperor's College, I'm not sure where they're going to be sending their records. I've seen representations where they say they're going to send it to the teach out school, but I understand there's more than one teach out school, so I'm a little unclear on that. The Bureau for Private Post-Secondary Education, which is the oversight agency for the school from the California State Agency, and OSAR, and Brian will be talking to you a little later. They will eventually have information on where your records are and how you can request them. But for now, because I don't know where they're going to go, and sometimes it's hard to get them, I recommend that you all get your student records from Emperor's College before the end of June. You have a right to inspect all of your records under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. That's a federal law. So you can ask your college if you can inspect all your records. And key documents include your enrollment agreement, student loan agreements, and records that you have of any kinds of student loans you signed, all the documents you signed. There's a document called a student ledger. That's typically what a school calls a document that sort of is a complete history of all the financial transactions, how much you've paid, how much they've paid to you, how much funds have been received on your behalf, and how they've applied it to the different credits. You can get a transcript, an unofficial copy should be available in your student records. You can get your attendance records, proof of withdrawal, proof of leave of absence, and all communications with the school. So it's really important to get this because you may need these documents in the future. And they can be difficult to get once a school closes, even though they really should be sure that those continue to be available to you. This is what a student ledger looks like. You can see that it's got the charges, the payments, refunds, sort of how all how they've applied everything that they've received on your behalf. And you should ask for a copy. So they can charge you to make copies, a reasonable fee, or you can take your phone with you and just make really good, take pictures of it. They may also have your records digitally, in which case they should be able to provide you a digital copy, a PDF or something. But you'll have to work that out with the school. Okay, so next topic is what is a federal closed school discharge, which is something I've referred to quite a bit. So a closed school discharge means that if your school closes before you can complete, you are eligible for cancellation of all the federal student loans you got to go to that school, as well as a restoration of the Pell Grant, Pell Grants you received to go to that school. If you've made payments on your loans, you get those refunded. I know none of you should have made payments yet because you're still enrolled, but that I do have people come to me, 10 years after their schools closed because they didn't know about this and they've been making payments. So you can get refunds. You get the negative, any credit history about the loan gets removed from your credit reports, and it's not taxable. So a lot of people worry about taxes, about getting taxed on discharges. This by federal law is not taxable. So how are you eligible? You did not complete your program. If you completed your program, but you just don't get your degree for some reason, and that does happen, you are not eligible. If the school closed while you were enrolled or on an approved leave of absence. So if you have friends that are on a leave of absence that was approved by the school, make sure that they are aware that they are eligible. If you withdrew, if you withdrew within 120 days before closure, so that's, I don't remember how many, 6 months? No, that's 4 months. Or 180 days before closure, depending on when your loans were dispersed, because federal law has a weird wrinkle in it that applies to this. Most of you probably took out your loans after July 1st of 2020. There may be a few that haven't, but the ones that are taken out after July 2020, if you withdraw within 6 months before the close date. Again, if you have friends or you know of students in this situation, this is something you might want to let them know about. Um, And I see your raised hand, Cheryl. I will answer questions at the end because I want to stop recording it so that we can all have a candid discussion at that point. Um, so keep it in your head, though. I know this is a lot. Um, if the student did not complete, and the student must not have completed the same or comparable program at a teach out. So if you enroll in a teach out, you shouldn't apply. You should wait until if you drop out later, you can apply, or if you complete it, you won't be eligible. Or if you transfer one or more credits to another school. Again, don't apply if you transferred credits because you may, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. And this includes direct Parent Plus loans. So if any of you or your friends have parents that took out federal loans on your behalf, they are also eligible for a closed school discharge, assuming that you, the student, meets this criteria. Now, there's a wrinkle in the law I mentioned. The Biden administration passed a new regulation for closed school
So
eligibility.
funny, it must be in these kinds of
Oops,
places.
somebody
But just someone that's like, I think it happens in
Can everyone mute? I hear some folks in the background. I wanted to make sure you were able to ask questions in person, so I unmuted you all, but if you could put your microphones on, that would be great. Okay, so because the Biden administration passed a new reg, which has better eligibility criteria, but it's been challenged in federal court, and that means it's been enjoined, meaning the court has ordered the Department of Education not to use the new regulations. However, if those regulations withstand the court case, you will be eligible for a discharge, so you can apply. It just means if you apply and you're in one of these buckets of students, the department will not review your student loan, your discharge application until after the court case is done. So if you complete the same or comparable programming after transferring even one credit. So this is a weird one. Under current law, under prior law, if you transfer any credits, you're not eligible for a closed school discharge if it's the same or comparable program. Under the Biden regulation, you could transfer one or more credits and you'd still be eligible. So this is slightly different. In addition, if you enrolled before July 1 of 2020 and got loans dispersed prior to that date, they expanded the look back period for the withdrawals to 180 days. This is really confusing. So what I would just say is if you transfer less than full credits to a new program, you should just apply. And you should apply regardless of if you withdrew, when you withdrew. If it's 180 days or less, just go ahead and give a closed school discharge a try. If you are eligible, just to be clear. Don't apply if you're not. Okay, so here's the process very quickly for a closed school discharge. One is you assess whether you're eligible. Next, you copy the necessary documents, you get them from your school. This is why I say student records can be very important. If you've withdrawn with the last 180 days, you need your proof of withdrawal. Sometimes schools don't accurately report when a student has withdrawn. If you are on a leave of absence, you need to you need to show that the school had approved that. If it wasn't approved, you won't get a closed school discharge. And if you have re-enrolled somewhere else, you may need a document if you haven't transferred any credits. Say you go somewhere else and you haven't transferred any credits and you're applying for a closed school discharge. You will likely need a letter from that new school saying they didn't accept any of your credits. You complete a discharge application, which is available at studentaid.gov. It's not in the webinar materials because it's better for you to download the most current version because they do change it. You can submit your application and loan documents to your servicer or the Department of Education. And once you do send that in, you should receive a letter eventually about your eligibility from your loan servicer. If you don't know who your loan servicer is, I don't think you probably, because you're still enrolled, have not been assigned a loan servicer yet, in which case you can just send it to the Department of Education, and there's an address on studentaid.gov. You all should have an FSA ID as well. It's an FSA it's the ID, sort of the login password and username you use to apply. So to submit your FAFSA application, that's your FSA ID. You can log on to studentaid.gov. You can see how many student loans you have, what kind they are. who your loan servicer is, if one has been assigned. So that's really the repository of all the information about your loans if you have questions. So from 6 months of the date, so what will happen is, or what's supposed to happen is, once the school closes, you're supposed to get a letter from the Department of Education or your loan servicer basically saying you don't have to make payments, you're eligible for a closed school discharge. Here's how to apply. In that 6 month period, you don't have to pay your student loans. It doesn't matter much because, again, you're going to be in a grace period anyway, but this is the typical process that's supposed to happen. And then hopefully your discharge will be granted. If it's improperly denied, you do have a right to appeal. So for borrowers who are eligible under the older regulations, meaning you didn't transfer any credits to the same or comparable program, you should go ahead and apply right away. And I'm hopeful. The department's website says it's processing these applications. We don't know for sure. We know the Biden administration, we were having fights with them about processing them. So I don't know if the new administration is doing it, but it says it is. So you should go ahead and send those in. In the past, they were relatively fast about processing these. I would see, say, 6 months max. But again, this is a new Department of Education. There have been massive numbers of layoffs. I don't know how long it will take if the department is actually um, reviewing these. What I would say to you, I know it's really important for you to get on with your life. So if you choose to go the closed school discharge route, I know you're going to be anxious to get this started so that you can start at a new school, so that you can, get on with your life, whatever it is. I would ask you to let me or the OSAR folks, Brian and his crew, to know if you're not getting any information from the department, so that we can advocate to get these closed school discharges granted. Um, with the department itself or with other lawmakers. If you're only eligible under the recent regulations, meaning you do transfer one or more credits to the same or similar program, you should apply, but you should know, again, because of the injunction, the court isn't going to review those. I know, again, I'm sorry this is so fast, but we'll have time to talk at the end. If you have private loans, these are very separate from federal loans. Federal loans are government loans. So for most of you, well, all of you probably, they will be your direct student loans and they will be listed at studentaid.gov. If you're dealing with the bank, with the school, with some financial company, those are private loans. And those are not eligible for what's called a closed school discharge, right? You can tell if you have these if you have a Truth in Lending Act disclosure. And you can also order a credit report. You get your free credit reports actually every month now on annualcreditreport.com. You can go in there, you can request and download one of your free credit reports from the three big, and you can see if you have private loans. Usually they will be reported on your credit. This is what a truth in lending statement looks like. So if you got this means you do have a private student loan. It should be in your school records. So, what I would say is if you have a private student loan, you can ask for forbearance and tell the lender your school has closed. If you're not, you may be eligible for you may have a defense to repaying that loan. It's very complicated. I would say if you are not going to continue your education and rely on the credits that you received at the school that's closing, you should probably reach out to the Student Loan Empowerment Network about your options for dealing with that private loan. It also will, as we'll talk in a minute, it will be possibly covered by the Student Tuition Recovery Fund. So, but private loans can be very tricky. And so that's really when you want to reach out for help. If you can't, you may reach out for help on your federal loans too, but this is another option. Now, if you receive collection letters or payment notices, and your whole loan holder does not provide any helpful information about your options, you can seek legal help. You can file a complaint with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation called the DFPI. They are a California agency charged with overseeing debt collectors, loan servicers, and education lenders. You can file a complaint with the California Attorney General's office. and with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the federal entity. I'm almost done. We're going to go through the the state tuition recovery fund, and then we'll talk to Brian, and then we will open it up for some discussion. So the great news is California has something, a really great student tuition recovery fund, which we refer to as STRIF, which will, if you're eligible, reimburse, pay off, or grant educational credits for some or all of the following if you show that you are eligible. Private loans, cash paid that you paid to the school, you can get that back. Grants that were paid to the schools, so that includes, if you have some kind of private grants, also if you have Pell Grants, federal student loans, and GI Bill funds. So any kind of money that was paid for you or on your behalf to the school can usually be covered by Student Tuition Recovery Fund. And what I mean by that is I think I have a slide about what relief you get. So we'll get there in a minute. So how are you eligible? And this is all covered online as well, and I'll provide you with the information. And you can also call OSAR, which Brian will discuss in a minute. You must be a California resident. You must have been enrolled or on a leave of absence with when the school closed or withdrew within 120 days prior. So very similar to the closed school provisions. You must have attended a school that was required to register or be licensed with the Bureau. Emperor's College was required to register or be licensed by the Bureau, so you are covered on that account. You must submit the applications within 4 years after the school closes. So you have 4 years from assuming it closes on January 30th, 2025, you'll have 4 years to file your claim. Usually, if you are eligible, the Bureau will ask you to also file a closed school discharge application. And the reason is we want to make sure the federal government discharges your loans instead of paying them off through the California Student Tuition Recovery Fund. If you get a discharge of your loans, it's much better because then none of those loans will count towards your lifetime financial aid eligibility limit. So it is better for you to get the federal discharge if you can get it first, and then waiting for the STRIF. But you should apply for STRIF at the same time you apply for the closed school discharge. It will be reimburse you for partial credit transfers. So if, unlike the closed school discharge, say you transfer half of your credits to a new school, then you can apply to STRIF for at least partial reimbursement of the tuition you paid to the school and some of your other aid because you didn't transfer half of those. I'm not sure how they calculate it, but you will get a partial reimbursement for the credits you were not able to transfer. And there will be a lot of documentation required that you have to submit. Again, another reason to get the student records I previously mentioned. The STRIF is administered by the Bureau for Private Post-Secondary Education, and you can request assistance from the California Office of Student Assistance and Relief. Brian, do you want to talk a little bit? And we have Brian Vest here again from OSAR. So he's from the office that will help folks apply for STRIF.
Yeah, thank you, Robyn. Glad to be here. So, my name is Brian Vest, and I am with the Office of Student Assistance and Relief. We are the office within the Bureau for Private Post-Secondary Education that assists and advocates for students who go to private colleges, especially when they go to one that closes. And we can help you get important documents like transcripts and financial ledgers from the school, find the right college and programs that fit you to transfer to, help with requesting refunds from the school or getting your loans discharged. And our main one, like Robyn has said, is assistance for filing and compiling that Student Tuition Recovery Fund application. We currently have been contacted by some students of Emperor's College, and we have reached out to the school so they can provide us some important information, such as rosters of the students who are enrolled at that school. So once we receive that, we will be reaching out to you all for more information about student rights and your next steps. So we are here, like Robyn has said, to assist you. So please contact us if you need help with any of that, and also look out for our emails because those will be coming in the future. not just a scam or spam in your
Yeah.
email. But and if you want to reach out to us for setting up a one-on-one appointment, you can do that at our email as well as on this website that's listed there. Our email is OSAR, that is OSAR .dca @dca.ca.gov, or give us a call at 888-370-7589 and choosing option 5. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. That's great. So there is a lot of help for folks in California. I know this seems like a lot right now, but Brian and his folks are here and they're fantastic. And also the Student Loan Empowerment Network and Legal Aid, we're all here for you if you are confused or need help on have any questions about this. I'm going to finish up and just want to give you some other resources and then I'll open it up for questions. So as I said, you can seek free assistance from OSAR. And I just want to also share a few other resources. So like I said, okay, free assistance from OSAR, the Student Loan Empowerment Network, and the Legal Aid Foundation of LA. We are part of the Student Loan Empowerment Network. You can contact your lawmakers if you have any issues, especially with the federal loan side of things. Your federal congressperson and senator or your state government representatives as well. And here's how you can find their contact information. They're the ones that make the laws about the relief that you're eligible for and the process. So if you want to share your experience with them, that's something you can do. If you have a problem obtaining school documents, you can file a complaint with the Bureau for Private Post-Secondary Education. You can also contact OSAR. You don't necessarily have to file a complaint. They do want to know what's going on at the school. So if you have any information or concerns you want to share, I would definitely give OSAR a call. If you're having a problem with your closed school discharge application is rejected or with your servicer, you can file a complaint with the Department of Education Student Loan Ombudsman. The California DFPI has a great student loan ombudsman that you can also file a complaint with. You again can seek help from your federal congressperson or senator and from the Student Loan Empowerment Network. If you see any debt relief scam or you become a victim of a debt relief services scam, and people do, it's very confusing. So it's nothing to be ashamed about. It does happen. You can file a complaint with the DFPI as well as call for help to the Student Loan Empowerment Network. And then for private loans, again, DFPI, always a great place to file complaints, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the Student Loan Empowerment Network. Here's information about closed school discharges that you can go take a look at if you want to read up more about how it works. And then also a lot of information about the California Student Tuition Recovery Fund, both on the Bureau's website and on OSAR's website.